wherein these issues are a growing concern. The partnership is between the AAP, which is let me just double check the proper name, Alliance for African Partnership, and PIRA, Partnership for Innovative Research in Africa. Now, in conjunction with the University of the West in the chemistry department, Mona, there's a Michigan State University and the University of Pretoria, which is quite a collaboration, and today is a showcase presentation of what the project is all about, and of course, some of the sampling. Couldn't have a food conference without food, right? Right. So I just want to welcome everyone in particular, and I want to welcome our campus registrar, Dr. Donovan Stanberry, Dr. Belton Gooden, my colleague, who's going to be our guest speaker today, Prof. Boxill, who is representing today the P.J. Patterson Institute. I know that's not the exact name, sir, but Dr. Donna Mine had kids, so I head of the department. Prof. Michael Taylor, Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology, and all our important guests. So I will just get the program going, and I'm going to invite Prof. Taylor to deliver the opening remarks.
Good morning. I can't tell you what a joy it is to be standing here and delivering these opening remarks. Sorry, let me back up. Let me acknowledge all the protocols that have been observed. So we acknowledge our senior campus officials, our esteemed guest speaker, everybody who is in the room, colleagues, friends, those who have come to support, particularly, of course, Dr. Thompson and his collaborators, and those who are here in the room and those who are online. So let me continue. What a joy it is to actually be standing here giving greetings. As a faculty of science and technology, those who are in the faculty will know that one of the things that we're trying to do is pursue what we call a right science agenda. And right is spelled R-I-T-E, not because scientists can't spell, because we are excellent. I don't understand the chuckles in the room. We're excellent at spelling, but RIGHT stands for a couple of things. So it stands for reimagined science and science education, all right? And there is no way those who are intimately related to this project cannot see that this is a real reimagination of science. It also stands for science that's inspiring, all right? And again, the kind of showcase that we're having here and the kind of novelty that is on show is inspiring. It's also science that's transformative, because what we want to be doing is doing science that can transform. And so we talk about the novel nature of science and the innovative nature of science. And then the E is for science that's enabling. And for the very few minutes that I have, I want to just get stuck on the E. Enabling science, you see, has to be science that betters society. And we, as a Faculty of Science and Technology, are aspiring to put that kind of science on the table, especially for a local context, for a regional context, but even in a global context. How do you pursue enabling science at all? I think enabling science has to have kind of three kind of characteristics. The first characteristic of enabling science, if it is really going to do anything, is that it has to be targeted science. What do I mean by targeted science? This that we are launching or the showcasing today is targeted science. Put on a different hat from the dean. I'm also a climate change scientist. And one of the big issues of climate change in the small island developing context and in the Jamaican context is, of course, the impact of climate change on food security and nutrition. And what climate change does, it takes the most vulnerable, those who are most vulnerable, for example, in terms of livelihoods, farmers, or those who are most vulnerable in terms of access to good nutrition, and it makes them more vulnerable. As a region and as a country and as a small island developing state, we have to target that and try to do something about that, especially the challenge of making sure that good nutritional food is available to everybody. Here is a science showcase, science partnership and project that we are going to showcase today that does exactly that. It targets a key issue that is critical for us and tries to put a solution on the table. Very quickly, but enabling science is not only targeting an issue, and here is a project that's doing that. Enabling science also has to be, in addition to being targeted, contextual. That's the challenge we face in climate change science. You can target an issue, but then you can bring in a solution from somewhere else. And what you end up with is maladaptation. Science that does not do will make the problem you are targeting better. You look on this program and you look on this brochure, and one of the things that will strike you is how contextual this science is. This is science dealing with a regional, small island, but as also a global issue with respect to nutrition. So it moves from simply being targeted to being targeted plus dealing with a specific issue that is related to us. This then is a great showcase. And then the last thing is that enabling science has to be targeted. But it has to be contextual, so it has to move between just any solution, but solutions that really hit the mark. And then it has to do one more thing. It has to be actionable. Because the truth is you can put any solution on the table, but if it's not implementable and actionable, then it has lost the characteristic to be enabling. Well, I look at the end of this program, and I think at 11:25, when we have sample tasting and feedback, it will have proven the point that this is science that is actionable. And just to end, what we want to do when we are doing this right science, which is enabling science, is targeted, contextual, and actionable. Is really reverse that. We want to do science that enables us to act. So actionable, contextual, and targeted. Because when we do science that enables us to, that facilitates us acting, that's when we are doing enabling science. I am heaping loads of praise on Dr. Thompson and his collaborators, because this is science that enables us to act. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Prof. Taylor. And I just want to offer my own congratulations to my colleague, Dr. Thompson. And, he has many collaborators with him. As I said, critical research, and, it deals with also, as Prof. Taylor says, the most vulnerable. But it also deals with many diseases that affect us of this particular diaspora, non-communicable diseases, diabetes, the high blood pressure, the high cholesterol, because we are what we eat, literally. And so, excellent platform to doing the research. Now, I'm going to invite next our head of department, can't get the chemistry out of me, right? Head of department, Dr. Donna Minot Cates. And after that, I'm going to ask Prof. Boxill to come on up.
Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Peter Ruddock, our campus registrar, Dr. Donovan Stanberry, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, Professor Michael Taylor, Professor Ian Boxill, representing the P.J. Patterson Institute for Africa, representatives of our donor partners, the Alliance for African Partnership, and Partnerships for Innovative Research in Africa. Collaborators, colleagues, esteemed guests, good morning. Dr. Thompson set me up this morning. Not only did he put me on the program and ask me after, but he put me on the program after Professor Taylor, how can one top that? I think I'm here to make sure that when Professor Boxill comes up, he looks good. Professor Boxill is my friend, so I can take steps with him. It is my pleasure as the head to bring you greetings on behalf of the Department of Chemistry. I add my welcome to the official showcase of the AAP PIRA project and website launch. As a food chemist myself, the significance of the work on display today is not lost on me. The introduction of culturally relevant ingredients to produce alternate composite gluten-free flours that are nutrient-dense, thereby addressing several nutritional and food security concerns, is an innovation of note and worthy of celebration. That this has arisen through the collaborative efforts of the African diaspora and its subset, the Jamaican diaspora, through designing a composition that spans continents and regions, is indeed commendable. We recognize the individual contribution of our research partners. The University of Pretoria, which provided fermented maize flours, Michigan State University, that contributed protein-rich bean flours, high in available iron, while our researchers at the University of the West Indies, Mona, contributed vitamin A biofortified sweet potato and cassava flour. The UWI's role in this 3-year project began in 2021 during the uncertain times of the COVID-19 pandemic. Allow me, colleagues and friends, to self-plagiarize a previously expressed sentiment. The period of the pandemic was indeed the newest of times. It was the strangest of times. Some would say perhaps it was the darkest of times. But for scientists, however, it was arguably a most exciting time. We create knowledge. We learn through observations and exploring the natural world around us, which allows us to propose solutions, create innovations that help to improve, control, or circumvent the challenges that as a world we face. This project has risen to the challenge, innovated, equipped us with solutions, and has borne flour. Congratulations to all our partners. Well done, and thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. I should let Donna know that I could never look as good as you. Let me acknowledge the protocol that has been established on 2 occasions, and also take the opportunity to say that I'm happy to be here to learn something about an area about which I know very little, but my friend Ian Thompson, we go back from postgrad days and Gilbert, etc. I've known Ian to be working in this field, no pun intended, for a long time, and I'm happy to hear that it has begun to bear flower. There's a West African proverb that says, if you give bad food to your stomach, it drums for you to dance. I suspect that the type of dance referred to here is not a pleasurable one. Of course, it is also the type of food that researchers involved in this project would advise against. In this sense, the proverb reminds us of the critical importance of good nutrition. The P.J. Patterson Institute for Africa Caribbean Advocacy, here at the University of the West Indies, Mona, aims to centralize and coordinate its relations with African peoples, governments, universities, and institutions through a specialized institutional agreement. In this regard, today's event is a prime example of the type of activity that the Institute, under the able leadership of the Most Honorable P.J. Patterson, UWI's first statesman in residence, and in whose names the center carries, supports, and advocates. Food security and proper nutrition are key to the development of any nation, but especially ours here in the Caribbean and in Africa. The Center for Reparations Research and our Vice Chancellor, Sir Hilary Beckles, remind us that part of the experience of the transatlantic slave trade was the development of many chronic, non-communicable diseases among our Caribbean people, namely those of African descent. Years of work by researchers has linked these NCDs to poor diet and experience as a result of the experience of the Middle Passage. The focus on addressing the problem of NCDs by innovative activities related to the use of food crops such as beans, corn, cassava, and vitamin A biofortified sweet potatoes, crops that are processed into flours with nutrient-rich composite flours or improved bioavailable iron, and with these things I am not sure what they are, but I'm just repeating. Vitamin A and protein is a step in the right direction. At a recent meeting of the Afri-Exim Bank in Guyana, a colleague of mine from Sierra Leone who came to the Caribbean to attend the conference, and Guyana in particular, in search of persons to collaborate in the production of cassava flour, spoke about the importance of this type of research to his own business and the development of Sierra Leone. Given the nature of our food and nutrition challenges, in my opinion, such partnerships ought to be encouraged. Partnerships in research and in business are both needed. Both are critical for the development of our region. It is our hope that more of these collaborations will blossom as we continue to build bridges across the pond we call the Atlantic Ocean. And note, colleagues, that the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean was once called the Ethiopian Ocean, and that was up to sometime in the 19th century. In closing, let me express thanks and congratulations to the researchers here at the UWI, led by Dr. Thompson, the University of Pretoria, and Michigan State University for this project, and wish you all continued success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Boxell and Dr. Minot. I'm going to go into a video presentation now. So that's my cue. Is the team ready?
Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and partners, I extend to you a warm and heartfelt welcome from the Alliance for African Partnership to the official project showcase and website launch of the Department of Chemistry's Partnership Project, Novel Composite Flours for Better Health and Nutrition. The project is a partnership between the University of the West Indies Mona campus in Jamaica, Michigan State University in the US, and the University of Pretoria in South Africa. My name is Jose Jackson Maleti, and I'm extremely pleased to provide these welcome remarks for many reasons. Firstly, as a graduate of the chemistry department and a former lecturer of the food chemistry program in the department, and also as a food scientist, it is great to come full circle. I credit my love for research with the great experiences that I had at Mona, as it is here that the seeds for my career were planted and began as a student and a staff member. Secondly, when one of my former undergraduate students, Sharon Hooper, from Mona, is now one of the lead scientists in the project, and she was able to get both the Caribbean and Africa engaged around this global food science project, that was even better. My only disappointment is the fact that I am doing this virtually. I wasn't invited to give these remarks in person. Ian, we've spoken about this. We got to do better. I haven't been back to Mona in quite a few years, and I'm clearly due for a visit. So this is a loud hint. So what is the Alliance for African Partnership, and how are we involved in today's proceedings? The AAP is a consortium of 12 institutions, Michigan State University, 10 African universities in East, West, and Southern Africa, and a network of policy think tanks that are based on the African continent. The consortium was established by MSU to provide collaborative solutions for some of the global challenges that is facing the African continent. The consortium engages with many institutions across the globe, and the UWI MONA is one of them. It is with great pleasure and anticipation that we convene today and address some of the challenges around food and nutrition security, specifically developing new nutritious food products to feed the world. As the Caribbean's #1 ranked higher education institution, I'm aware that the UWI was strategically involved in a number of partnerships with US and African institutions, and was therefore well positioned to leverage its reputational excellence and strengthen this global project involving the Caribbean, the US, and Africa. This showcase today is one of the projects that was funded by the AAP as part of its Partnership for Innovative Research in Africa program. It is one of our largest funding programs that provides seed funding to initiate and strengthen partnerships between our consortium members and their partners. About 15 teams have received funding, and this was for a period of 18 to 24 months. And the findings from many of these grants are being used to leverage larger funding, increase the number of co-authored publications, increase the number of partners, and most importantly, we hope to change the lives in Africa, the Caribbean, and across the globe. As we gather here, we are reminded of the immense potential that lies within Africa and the Caribbean. We recognize that there is a reservoir of untapped talent, creativity, and resilience that exists in these regions. And we are waiting for these to be untapped and to reach their full potential. And we hope that collaborations like this will ensure that this happens. In the face of our challenges that we face globally, we recognize that no single entity or institution possesses all the solutions. Therefore, it is imperative for us to come together across the borders and disciplines and forge equitable partnerships to foster sustainable development. Today, as the team showcases their project outcomes and engage in critical dialogue, they will demonstrate very clearly that by leveraging their collective expertise, resources, and networks, we can create a brighter future for generations to come. My hope is that this is just the beginning of their collaborative efforts. I have had the pleasure of working individually with all of the 3 leaders in each of the institutions, and now collectively through this project. And I have to say that they've certainly delivered on the project objectives. I'd like to express my gratitude to everyone who have contributed to the success of the project. Your dedication, passion, and unwavering commitment to the Caribbean and also to the African continent inspire us all and serve as a beacon of hope in our quest for positive change. In closing, let us seize this opportunity to reaffirm our shared vision of Africa and the diaspora. Together, let us build bridges of understanding, cultivate a culture of collaboration, and embark on a journey of discovery and transformation. Thank you, and I wish you all a very productive showcase. Bye.
All right, well, long live good and fruitful collaboration. And I'm going to ask our principal investigator, Dr. Ian Thompson, to come and talk to us about the project background, as well as providing some more introduction and a summary of the project. There's a video presentation that should be coming right after Dr. Thompson's speech, but he's going to incorporate it into his talk.
Okay. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. First of all, let me acknowledge our special invited guests, the registrar, right. I'd like to acknowledge the registrar, Dr. Donovan Stanberry, our Dean of Faculty, Dr. Michael Taylor, of course, our Head of Department, Dr. Donna Minot-Cates, and the representative from the P.J. Patterson Institute, Prof. Boxell. And my good friend, of course, Dr. Velton Gooden, who we have worked several years from leaving university as grad students, and you know, it's my pleasure to see his rise to higher office within our country. And of course, to all of our other specially invited guests, thank you for coming. This project held for me a lot of potential and relevance. Certainly, Prof. Taylor's comments at the outset encapsulated a lot of what we saw as potential for this project. And I don't want to repeat those sentiments, but clearly the issue of climate change has brought the issue of food security, especially for small island developing states, into sharp focus. We are small, but we certainly have the ambition to be able to sustain ourselves. And this brings into context the issue of food security. My presentation will cover a few years and will essentially introduce some background information. So if we may move to the brief outline. Right. We intend then to, of course, provide some context for the work that we've done. And as listed in the outline, introduce the project team, and certainly, the main points being related to our research outcomes. What I like to do is tease your appetite, because I think one of the objectives of the presentation is to, if you may move to the next slide, is to tell you what we're going to tell you at the outset, so that there is no doubt about what it is. So these are actually images of the products that we've made. We've spent a lot of effort trying to present them. These are not stock images. These are our products we're showing, right? Because it's important as scientists that we promote what we do in a way that is acceptable or established when the marketers take a hold of our work. And in the next photo, you will see, right, the pudding. So the first was the porridge, the second the pudding, and certainly probably the most difficult of all our products that we had developed, our gluten-free bread. So let us look then at a tour, because we're going global. The title says it. We are global. So we act local. We think global. We act local. So if you could introduce the tour of the right. So this image for me represents something special. We're all on this floating ball in space. We have a shared destiny. We have shared problems, yet still we seem to forget that, we all bleed, we all love, we all suffer from the same ills. And from that standpoint, we want to focus on what it is that we have done in this project. So as you move forward to the next slide, we're in Jamaica, and specifically, we're working from the Department of Chemistry. So this is our internet buffering delay. So our Department of Chemistry, and we're earmarked, that's possibly the most famous ackee tree in the department, right? Everyone knows it. But this is where we worked, and we have moved to collaborate with our partners in Michigan State. So if we move to the next slide, we'll see a landmark across from the department. Then we moved to Michigan State, where we collaborated with Dr. Hooper. And on the next slide, you will see some landmarks at that particular institution of note, in addition to the next slide. As mentioned by Dr. Jose Jackson Malete, we have worked together before, but not with Africa, certainly not ourselves. So we're very excited to move to Africa, to South Africa. And if only we could travel this fast between destinations. So here at the University of Pretoria in South Africa, we're working with the Department of Food Science and Consumer Affairs. And this is the building that they're working from. So let us return to our venue here at the University of the West Indies, at the regional headquarters. So this is where we are, right? So this should give you some context of the reach of the project. It's not just names on a paper, but rather communities which are connected by a single objective, the search for more nutritious options in food choices, right? Okay, so now a brief background, and this will be rather quick. On the next slide, you will see about 10 or 12 years ago, there was a food for fuel crisis. Some of you may not have known about it, but most of you, by looking at this audience, would be aware that this put a lot of pressure on our economy. As a consequence, the government began to look at cassava as a substitute for wheat flour. And in short order, the farmers responded. Farmers are entrepreneurs. They are looking for opportunities. The farmers responded, and pretty soon there was a shortage of cassava. we saw opportunity at this time to look at, how do we use cassava flour to make bread? And, we did some work on that. And that was followed by, on the next slide, that was followed by some collaboration with the government of Colombia and the government of Jamaica and the University of the West Indies. We established then what was the Agricultural Research and Innovation Facility in Elim, St. Elizabeth, followed by, this is the facility, if you had not been. It's a fairly decent facility, and we produced a number of products, cassava flour, breadfruit flour, sweet potato flour, and we developed certain interest within the commercial sector for these products. And at this point, I'd like to recognize Mr. Winston Piper from our fellow institution across the road, UTEC, who assisted us with the development of the cassava bread at that time. If we move on, we would like now to introduce our team, and as I call the names, I'll just ask the members to stand. I'm already standing, so let us move to Dr. Patrice Peart, if you could recognize her. Prof. Benklebeer, Miss Kyra Taylor. Kyra is one of the most remarkable graduate students that we've had. She's a sensory specialist. Of course, Miss Jekyll Johnson. And just in time, in the nick of time, Miss Legine Smith. Miss Smith, I didn't realize you had gone to Glamour. Of course, I haven't as yet seen Mr. Javon Anderson. Mr. Anderson, please stand. We value our graduate students, and one of the things that I certainly do is give them an objective and say, go fetch. Meaning, I do not try to overlead, because I have my own perceptions, which are often not necessarily correct, and we need to invest time and effort in our students. So, this represents then our team. So, what was the project rationale? The issue really is not only food security within the Jamaican context, but rather as well the issue of malnutrition. And if we think that malnutrition is just the absence of food, malnutrition is also the inappropriate, there's no dietary balance. So monotonous diets, high in starch, carbohydrates, high in fats, not sufficient vitamins, protein, and minerals, is also considered malnutrition. And this then leads to our non-communicable diseases. And as far as that is concerned, we are familiar with the list. It's hypertension, diabetes, and the like. So we thought that it was important to promote a diet which is balanced, as well as being born out of local resources. It may be aging me, but not too long ago, there was a phrase called self-reliance. I would like to change that phrase to self-sufficiency, and this speaks then to the issue of food security. Are we food secure in Jamaica? We continue to import, by last count, just about $1 billion for food. As far as I know, we are still an agronomic society. Never mind what's happening in Kingston. The rest of the country depends on agriculture to survive. I know, I was in Elam, St. Elizabeth. All right? So the problems then and challenges that we face are also faced by these the other communities around the institutions that we've collaborated with. So micronutrient deficiency, NCDs, obesity, whereas the current interventions rely on industrial fortification. So for instance, flour, wheat flour, is industrially fortified by adding back the nutrients that were lost by when it's produced. Interestingly, white wheat flour is cheaper than whole wheat flour, which undergoes less processing, right? Whole wheat flour is better for you. So the focus then is on increased use of an economic development of those crops which we have more control over. Because we understand as well that the issue of food security, our food security, relates to our dependence on external forces, on external factors, drought, war. We need to take more control of these things. So we are concerned about food and nutrition security. So our rationale, our partnership on the next slide, really is about, and for this project, it's really about the innovations of trying to identify the opportunities of nutrient deficiency within our current diet in these individual communities around the institutions which represent our partners, right? And believe you me, if you think about it, what we did was phenomenal because we produced flowers in our individual regions and we shipped those flowers to MSU. They were analyzed, judiciously blended. In fact, it's a proprietary blend. If you're interested, we'll have a discussion. But the point is that once that was done, then we had to ship them back to the countries. So it was shipped from MSU to South Africa and to Jamaica. And then we took these and we each introduced our own technologies and techniques and ideas about what was possible. But let me just, and this is the only time that we'll go into some descriptive chemistry for the benefit of Prof. Boxell. And certainly, Dr. Stanbury. Dr. Stanbury, can you say whether you've made dumpling? Okay. What do you recognize when the more you knead dumpling, what is it that happens? The more you knead the flour to make dumpling, what happens? You're told. Well, the reality is that it gets firmer, tighter, stronger because of the chemistry of wheat flour. And for those who are not aware, we're speaking about the transformation of the protein, glutenin and gliadin, into gluten, which forms very strong sulfide bonds. So you see, the chemistry is there and you're not even aware. But the point is that we need to understand the functionality of these ingredients to be able to take advantage of them or know when to avoid them. With respect to corn, what we do know is that the anti-nutrients in corn, maize, lead to a reduction in the availability, in the bioavailability. In other words, even though the nutrients are there, these anti-nutrients end up restricting our access to them. So we may ingest them, we may think we're benefiting from them, but the fact is that the anti-nutrients, they may be phytic acid, polyphenols, tannins, they prevent us from benefiting from these particular nutrients. And one of the other interesting things about one of the ingredients that we used is that beans are known to be high in protein. But again, because of the anti-nutrients, we do not always have access to it. Beans are known for something else, which we won't mention. But the issue is that it was found, based on the work at MSU, that when you compare unmilled beans to milled beans, then you're able to release more of the protein by simply breaking up the cell walls, right? So milled beans have better bioavailability. You have more access to the nutrients than say, cooked beans. So milled beans, and in particular, this sonicolor milled beans is a new technology which they are working with. So we benefited from that. And of course, my favorite horse, cassava and sweet potato. So if we look at the next slide, so this is what we're just speaking of. If we look at the next slide, then we spoke about the process that we undertook. So fermented maize flour from South Africa, Jamaica contributed both cassava and sweet potato, vitamin A, biofortified, and MSU, USA, contributed beans. These formed a nutrient dense, which means rich in nutrients. And then we each prepared culturally appropriate foods in our various locations. The two foods from South Africa were porridge and biscuits, pasta and pancakes from USA. And we got ambitious. We did bread. Bread is probably one of the most difficult products to make. And I'd also like to recognize Miss Levy of Levy's Goodies, who we had badgered for her bread. She makes a wonderful gluten-free bread. So we needed to compare some of our work with what she was doing. And of course, ultimately, this is where we want to go. We want to move these products through small businesses, through large companies into industry. And if you are following the news, there's a lot of excitement recently about cassava, right? The government and Red Stripe. Okay, so let us look specifically now at the work of the three areas, the three institutions. So on the next slide, you will see presentation, and I must apologize. A lot of this work is not yet published. As a consequence, we cannot share as much as we would want to, but certainly, believe you me, that there is good content. So in South Africa, it may not surprise you that Africa has the highest hidden hunger rates in the world, and this is primarily because there's low diversification in the cereals. They eat a lot of maize, about 220 grams, 0.2 kilograms per day of their diet is based on maize. So it's low in essential vitamins, and because it's not fermented, there's low bioavailability of the nutrients. So our researchers at UP found that, okay, let us ferment the maize, and in that way release the nutrients. So that was significant. And on the next slide, you will see that they produced porridge, which was not only more visually appealing here, but also had higher levels of beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is provitamin A. Beta-carotene. So the levels of beta-carotene in our product formulations is about 1,600 micrograms per 100 grams. One of the interesting things about this research, though, is that this provided a nutrient-dense porridge. Why nutrient-dense? Because we have improved the nutrient profile. The nutrient profile of the composite flour is actually better than wheat flour, right? So that is one. The other thing which is interesting about their work is that unlike ourselves here in Jamaica, we typically like our porridges to be, by a raise of hands, let us see, who prefer a thin porridge as opposed to a thick porridge? So who are the thin porridge people? No hands. Oh, one. Who are the thick porridge people? Right. So the issue is that the porridge which is being developed in South Africa is thin because they feed it to young children. And being nutrient dense, they're able to take more of a thin porridge and benefit from the composite flour, the higher nutritional quality of the composite flour. That is quite unlike what we found here, as by this informal survey. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our South African collaborator, Dr. Eugenie Kayetesi, and we'll show the video of her demonstrating some of the work and acknowledging the various partners. Could you please?
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. Today we introduce you to hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for developing products that are.
Well, we should be seeing her image. Apparently it is stuck. Can we try again, please?
Joining us today. Today we introduce you to sensory analysis as an important tool for developing products that are nutritious and acceptable to the consumers. Our participants will be our second-year students, and they'll be involved in formulation and developing the product. And in the second phase, they will look at the different methods used for sensory analysis. First part, looking at descriptive sensory analysis and how a panel is trained, and in the second part, looking at how consumers then will test the product and evaluate its acceptability. The project is part of a bigger project that involves 3 international universities, of course, the University of Pretoria, the University of West Indies in Jamaica, and Michigan State University in the USA. It is funded by the Alliance for African Partnerships, and I hope you enjoy the experience as our students would. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ogenayuma Olisa, and in this room today we will be training the sensory panel for evaluation of biscuits. So we would have different types of biscuits, and the panel will first of all provide consent, and then they would go on to generate the terms, the descriptors that they would use, and we would then go on to have a consensus to decide on what final list of descriptors to use to evaluate the biscuits.
Which you can access later. In summary, sensory evaluation is not just tasting and saying yes, you like it or no. It's actually a recognized scientific discipline, and we have spent quite a lot of effort and resources in reestablishing our sensory evaluation lab in the Department of Chemistry, using one of the more advanced sensory evaluation software. It's internet-enabled. We don't use paper ballots. So if you get the chance, we'll invite you. You can come and partake in that. I'd like to now move on to the next slide, where we look at the work at Michigan State. Interestingly, they have done quite a bit of work, not only on bean flour, but also on the products that are shown here, both pasta and pancakes. The significance of this work really relates to the acceptability or the resistance to bean flour. So they have been working with different technologies to improve the sensory appeal of bean flour, because a lot of persons are resistant to bean flour. And if we may move on, we had the opportunity while at Michigan State to look at a mobile food processing lab, and HOD. This is something that I think we should be looking at so we can wean ourselves from another institution which we are so dependent on. And of course, we visited their innovation center, food innovation center, which again was quite remarkable. On the next slide, we will then look at...
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. On the next slide, we basically will look at the work that we had done on porridges here at UWI. And we must credit Mr. Anderson for a lot of this work. Again, we're just presenting some images of what we had done. We found that there was significant temperature dependence of viscosity on some of the leading brands. So what we had done really was just to look at a leading brand of porridge as a reference and essentially match that. So in the words of one of our guest speaker, we use it as a benchmark. Right. So, by benchmarking, we certainly had the opportunity to provide, optimum conditions to match so a product which was commercially successful. And you should see an image of our porridge on the next image, right? It's a bit bleached, but I think you'll appreciate the effort. On the next slide, we then looked at pudding. The issue with regards pudding has less to do with gluten, the functionality of gluten, and more to do with the issues relating to the achieving a particular mouthfeel and texture of the product. And we use sensory evaluation again to guide these efforts. And of course, we have Ms. Smith representing here, working assiduously in the lab. And finally, when we came to bread, this was by far the most challenging product. The absence of gluten is difficult to replicate. So that ability to trap carbon dioxide from the yeast. Of course, we looked at the normal candidates, and those were not successful, or certainly we didn't feel that they had worked to the extent that we thought we could achieve. So we had to look at a number of different characteristics, and after extensive investigation, on the next slide, right, so we looked at the microstructure so that we could balance the structure, comparative structure of our gluten-free bread with traditional bread, as well as textural analysis. So the microstructure is on the left, the textural analysis being done by Ms. Taylor on the right. And it's a bit washed out, but here you should see the different force required, compression force required for the different samples that we had evaluated. So again, we're trying to match the textural characteristics of bread. So, in closing, we have produced 3 products. In addition, our collaborators have produced several others. This showcase then is intended to draw your attention to, not only the work that we've done, but also the opportunities that exist for leveraging these works into products for commerce. As scientists, we tend to be good in the lab, but tend not to do enough to promote the work that we've done and have it translated into industry. So in one sense, this is part of the objective of the showcase. In another sense, by developing the website, we intend to have, open the work to the world, and hopefully we can attract additional funding. The website is on the next slide. Surprise, surprise, novelflowersbetternutrition.com. It is now live, so if you type it in, you should be able to pick up the site. It goes through a lot more of what we have done, and certainly we hope that you enjoy scrolling through our site. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would like to thank you for your attention and invite you to partake in the fair once they have been set up outside. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thompson. And yes, indeed, your site is up. I just Google it in, and there we are. All right, so at this point, again, thank you very much. Clearly tremendous work that has gone in, and we can see the potential to impact lives globally. And at this point, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. A colleague of mine, we overlapped in graduate school for a little bit, and it's Dr. Velton Gooden. And just by way of background, Dr. Gooden is the executive director of the Bureau of Standards in Jamaica, and director and chair of the finance committee of the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, called CrossQ. And he's a former chief executive officer of Benchmark Quality Management Solutions Limited and head of quality and exports for the CB Group. I think CB is the chicken Caribbean bar, that's right. Dr. Gooden currently serves as a director on several private and public sector company boards, and is former director of the Jamaica Exporters Association and of the Jamaica Agro-Processors Association, JAPA. By way of training, he obtained his BSc and MPhil degrees right here in Chemistry Department, UWI, and an MBA from the University of New Orleans, and then a PhD in Business Administration from Washington International University. He's a certified food specialist, and so clearly right at home here, with the Institute of Food Technologists, and also a certified management systems implementation consultant with exemplar global certification, registered SQF consultant with the Safe Quality Foods Institute, SQFI. Dr. Gooden is a result-driven professional, just in case you didn't get that from his qualifications, and has an exceptional eye for detail, accompanied by proven experience in analyzing operational gaps against company principles, and an expert in driving quality improvement internally and customer success externally to increase revenue and profitability. He has over 30 years of industry experience and is adept at devising and executing strategic plans and company policies while maintaining open dialogue with stakeholders and driving organizational success. We are very, very happy to have you, Dr. Gooden, and without further ado, please welcome Dr.
It's indeed a pleasure for me to be back home on the campus. But permit me first to just acknowledge a few persons in the room with us, starting with, of course, our Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Peter Ruddock, Professor Michael Taylor, who spoke earlier, Dean Faculty of Science and Technology, Professor Ian Boxell, P.J. Patterson Institute for Africa, Caribbean Advocacy, Dr. Donna Maynard Cates, Head Department of Chemistry, also Dr. Donovan Stanbury, who is the campus registrar, my friend Ian Thompson, Dr. Ian Thompson, who is the lead researcher and partner for this project, other distinguished participants, guests, media practitioners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. With challenges comes opportunity, and with global challenges comes global opportunities. The challenge of global malnutrition, you will agree with me, is one challenge that deserves a global focus. And so it is timely that this project should have been conceived and now have been successfully implemented. So the project name, as by now you would know, is the Novel Composite Flours for Globally Nutritious Foods for better health and nutrition, and allows partnership institutions to collaborate in this critical matter of stemming malnutrition across the globe. I am indeed grateful for the kind invitation for those responsible for planning this event, and extend sincere commendation to the partners, as was mentioned before, the University of the West Indies, Mona, the Michigan State University, and of course, the University of Pretoria, South Africa. But let me especially recognize the researchers, collaborators, as well as the primary funding agencies, the Alliance for African Partnership, AAP, and the Partnerships for Innovative Research in Africa. This collaboration indeed affords us an opportunity to spearhead what can easily be called a groundbreaking partnership and project. I am thrilled that the UWI's Department of Chemistry, which has provided the foundation for my own personal and professional development, has played an integral part in this project. Against this background, I offer my personal commendation again to Dr. Thompson and his team of researchers here, and I wish the team every success in its ongoing efforts to engage with others and access additional funding for this pivotal work. Malnutrition, ladies and gentlemen, remains a formidable obstacle to human development, with far-reaching implications for health, for productivity, and social economic progress. Particularly in regions like Africa, where communities, especially children, endure alarming high rates of malnutrition, there is the recognition that we must act, and we must do so with a level of urgency. In our cities and towns in developing countries like Jamaica and other small island developing states within the Caribbean region, our populations are seeing an increased prevalence of non-communicable diseases. Our understanding of the link between diet and non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol underscores the critical importance of providing nutrient-rich foods to to vulnerable populations. It is within this context then that the project that we have just looked at seeks to innovate and create affordable, convenient, and nutrient-rich foods that are currently in short supply. Nutrition numbers among the areas of focus, not just here in Jamaica, but indeed across the world. Indeed, in 2016, the member countries of the United Nations, they came together, and they formed what are commonly known now as the Sustainable Development Goals. And it is very instructive that SDG 2 is expressed this way. And I quote, it says, the goal is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. But nutrition, you will agree with me, also relates to other SDGs, those focusing on other important areas, for example, poverty, health, climate change, which was mentioned earlier, and gender. So this project is therefore exemplary in its innovative work that it has sought to undertake the far-reaching implications, not just here for Jamaica, but as was said many times before, right around the world. At the heart of your endeavor lies the concept of composite flours. By incorporating a diverse array of food crops such as beans, as was mentioned, maize, corn, cassava, vitamin A-rich sweet potatoes into flours, you are seeking to elevate the nutritional profile of staple foods, offering a sustainable solution to combat malnutrition. The global diversity of the produce in this project is to be indeed applauded. Fermented maize, corn from South Africa, beans rich in iron and protein from Michigan in the USA, and Jamaica's cassava and vitamin A biofortified sweet potatoes have all been combined to provide a nutrient-rich composite flour. However, take note that our effort must go beyond mere innovation. Earlier, Dr. Thompson would have alluded to the fact that, yes, we create these novel products in the lab, but its real benefit comes when we can put it on the plates of the consuming public. So we must recognize and embrace the significance of standards in ensuring the safety, the quality, and the efficacy of these composite flours. As Executive Director of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, an institution renowned for its commitment to standardization and the standard development process, we also provide analytical services and certification among our suite of offerings. I am proud of the role played by BSJ in the internationally recognized ISO Technical Committee 93, which focuses on starch, its derivatives, and byproducts. And I think I saw Rayleigh, yes, Dr. Rayleigh Dunkley, is with us, and if you could just stand, Dr. Rayleigh, and be recognized. So, Dr. Rayleigh is in fact the chair of this international technical committee, which focuses on starch and its derivatives and byproducts. So Jamaica, through the national standards body, the Bureau of Standards, serves as a secretariat to this committee. And as was mentioned, Dr. Rayleigh Dunkley is an outstanding graduate of the UWI's Department of Chemistry and now manager for BSJ's chemistry branch, and also serves as the ISO TC 93 chairperson. Also serving on the committee is Mrs. Julia Bonadue, Director of Standards Division at the BSJ, and she serves as the committee manager. This project can be assured of the BSJ's ongoing support, even if it were to be only through Dr. Dunkley's membership and leadership on the committee, and he has led well. May I remind you that Dr. Dunkley's focus in his PhD studies was about the acetylation, and for those who are not chemists in the room, having to do with the modification of starches, and in this case, the cassava starch. And so we are confident that his intellect, expertise, and continued commitment to research will be beneficial all around, both to the ISO TC 93, to the BSJ, and indirectly to the project, which has the capacity to revolutionize nutrition for people across the world. Be assured, though, that the BSJ commitment to the continued evolution of starch is without question. An example of this was in February of this year, when the National Mirror Committee organized a successful starch sensitization session, which sought to, amongst other things, provide an overview of the sourcing, processing, and utilization of starch, and provide a live demonstration of the use of starch, including, of course, the use of starch as glues and the many byproducts of starch. We also discussed starch with a focus on its sources, potential uses in Jamaica, and opportunities for the commercialization of this important produce in industry. As you continue on the next leg of this journey, Dr. Thompson and your partners, it is imperative that you uphold the high standards of excellence and integrity. Through collaborative efforts and a shared commitment to innovation, we can make tangible strides towards a world where nutritious food is not just a privilege, as it is in many societies, including many here, right, in the Caribbean, but indeed a fundamental human right. This project has the potential to change lives for the better. At the outset, collaboration across the global North America, through to Jamaica, the global South, South Africa, has the potential to deepen more meaningful dialogue and research among scientists across the globe. Collaboration will aid in the sharing of ideas and values and a cause to deepening understanding of the work of developing South in matters of science and also in health. More significantly, though, I believe the development of novel composite flowers from easily accessible agricultural food crops already grown in abundance in the geographical areas of our partner institutions will over time influence the development of nutritious foods and ultimately better health among all our peoples. In support of the claim of national nutritional density, our chemistry branch at the BSJ offers nutritional content testing, which includes, of course, for protein, fats, carbohydrates, and caloric value testing. And we also create nutritional facts panels, not only for existing products that are in the marketplace, but very importantly, Dr. Thompson, also for novel products under which these composite flowers would fall. So we're looking forward to do that work on your behalf. I'm also confident that the other ministries and agencies of government, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, or Ministry of Health and Wellness, along with other agencies, will embrace this project because of its proposed outcomes. I have no doubt that there are entities, and organizations in our local and regional context that will also recognize how beneficial this research work is and pledge their commitment and their resources for its continuation. Through our website, through your website, I'm calling it our because I feel so a part of this, through your website, which you launched today, everyone, along with your valued stakeholder, gets an opportunity to see the outstanding work that this group of researchers from Jamaica, the United States of America, and South Africa has done to ultimately aid nutrition efforts as we pursue the SDGs set out by the United Nations. I trust that your efforts to attract other eminent researchers will bear fruit, and that in the process you will inspire new generations of young researchers and get the desired funding for more work. And it was very useful for us to introduce some of the new faces that shared in this very important project. I am indeed excited about the possibilities, and again extend my heartfelt commendation and gratitude to all partners, supporters, and stakeholders who have joined the UII, MONA, the MSU, and the University of Pretoria in this noble endeavor. Ladies and gentlemen, I end my brief words on this project in this way. You see, together, we have a glorious opportunity to pave the way for a future where no child goes to bed hungry. No family struggles to access nutritious food, and no community is held back by the scourge of malnutrition. This project can be just one step to achieving those goals. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward, like most of you here, to taste the products that they have created by way of this project. Please enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gooden. And pretty soon you'll realize that this is not only a feel-good, but also a taste-good project as we come towards the end, but Dr. Gooden, let me just invite you back up, please. Ms. Kyra Taylor has a gift for you, sir. The photographers will stay right in front of the podium, please. Right in front of the podium.
All right, so Dr. Gooden, on behalf of the Department of Chemistry at the University of the West Indies, MONA, the Michigan State University, and the University of Pretoria, thank you for attending this event and giving us this wonderful, riveting speech. And the crux of your speech really speaks to, collaboration. And as we progress with this project, we hope that we can collaborate with the BSG and furthermore collaborate with the different ministries so that we can make this achievement where we combat food insecurity. So thank you very much, and this is our token.
Thank you very much again. So we're just going to move into the closing remarks and vote of thanks. So I'm going to invite my colleague, Dr. Patrice Spirit, lecturer and collaborator from the Department of Chemistry here, and Ms. Legine Smith, chemistry undergraduate research intern, to give the closing remarks, vote of thanks.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to be a part of this project, doing the much-needed work of creating solutions for the challenges of micronutrient deficiencies, malnutrition, diet-related chronic illnesses that disproportionately affect communities similar to ours. Our aim was to address the issues by promoting the use of sustainable, nutrient-rich flours derived from locally sourced crops. Vitamin A deficiency is widely recognized as a major health concern, particularly in low and middle-income countries, and it is widely acknowledged as something that will adversely impact our future, as it negatively impacts pregnancy, child growth, and development. Now, approximately 1/3 of children under the age of 5 are deficient in vitamin A, and this contributes to about a 2% death rate in this age group. Not only is the challenge to develop more nutritious foods based on raw materials which we can obtain locally, we have to face the issue of a changing climate. So we must now look to crops that are more drought resistant and can withstand those changing conditions. This project was challenging because of the geographical distances between the collaborators. However, it allowed us to share our expertise and to create solutions that were suitable for individual locales. Here at Mona, our team consisted of faculty, but also incorporated students, both in the undergraduate and graduate programs. As we move forward, it is imperative to continue advocating for accessibility and affordability of these nutritious food options, particularly for the low and medium income consumers. We need for government to provide policy and framework to support projects such as these. We need entities like the Scientific Research Council to partner with us to develop a greater variety of products based on these flowers. We need the Bureau of Standards to provide the testing of the products and the guidelines for safely manufacturing products to supply the local and export markets. We need the support and collaboration to take these ideas from the research facilities into the commercial market so that the people that we design these solutions for can actually benefit from them. Working together, we can promote sustainable agricultural practices and innovative food processing techniques. We can make meaningful strides towards combating malnutrition and improving the overall health and well-being of everyone worldwide. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It has been such an honor to be a part of this event and the research project. So as I start this vote of thanks, first of all, I would like to thank God for carrying us this far and for, well, allowing us to overcome the challenges that we faced. On behalf of the University of the West Indies Chemistry Department, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the funding agency, Alliance for African Partnership, and Dr. Jose Jackson Malete for providing us with the necessary requirements to carry out this project. Our guest speaker, Dr. Velton Gooden, Executive Director of the Bureau of Standards of Jamaica, who spoke on the importance of having nutrient-rich food that is available and affordable for all, and the urgency that we should have in making these foods available, not only in Jamaica, but also around the world. Your words will be a constant reminder that putting a dent in malnutrition is a job that is not yet done. Your support, encouragement, and the time you took to be here today is greatly appreciated. We're grateful for our collaborators and research partners, University of Pretoria in South Africa and the Michigan State University, for their tireless work in developing products which are more nutritious and thus better for our health. To my team members and volunteer undergraduate students who participated in our sensory evaluation, your time and feedback has not gone unnoticed. It is the data that was generated from your feedback that has helped one phase of this project to come to completion, and for that, we thank you. To Ms. Harrison and Mr. McEwen from the U Regional Headquarters, the hours we spent finalizing details in order for you to host this event were sincerely appreciated. I also wish to express my gratitude to Markham for their logistical support and MITS for their technical support. I must also thank Ms. Kamei Powell for catering this event. I have no doubt that your treats will definitely be enjoyed. To our chemistry students who volunteered to assist us, your efforts are what helped to ensure that there were no hiccups, and for that, we are grateful. For our specially invited guests, Professor Ian Boxill from the P.J. Patterson Institute, Miss Diane Clark-Harris from Cardi, Dr. Michael Taylor, Dean of the Faculty of Science and Technology, Dr. Minot Cates, and all other specially invited guests. We sincerely appreciate that you took time out of your busy schedule to come and experience the launch of this website and project showcase of the AAP PIRA project. And last but not least, our beloved Dr. Thompson, our lead researcher and coordinator. I must say that this project was my first research project, but working with you has set such a high standard of what a project should be, and well, the level in which we should conduct ourselves, that I'm sure I will never forget it. You have taught us so much, not only on how to properly conduct the research, but on the applications of the knowledge that we have learned through years at UWI. And for that, I will forever be grateful. I thank you all for your attendance and your continued support. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are nearly at the end of the formal part of the program. Thank you very much, ladies, for your vote of thanks. So just a quick acknowledgement of those who have been here as well. You know, Dr. Stanbury, thank you for making gracing us with your presence, sir. Prof. Boxill, thank you very much as well. Dr. Gooden, our guest speaker, Dr. Minot Cates, Prof. Taylor. You know, always a pleasure. And of course, our collaborators from overseas as well, those who could be here virtually. Very well led, Dr. Thompson, you know, thank you very much. And colleagues all, again, it's always a pleasure to be part of my family here. And so, again, without further ado, I don't want anybody to trample me towards the snacks. Are they ready, sir?
I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a bit of a delay. The food is ready, but I think in terms of the window side,
right.
we may not have set up as yet.
Okay.
Give us 5 minutes. It's ready? Okay. All right.
To this side.
So they'll be setting them outside? Oh, it's around, okay. I thought it was going to be here, but it's elsewhere.
All right, no problem.
My apologies. What I will ask, however, is that for the first 5 minutes, we allow our special invited guests to do the sampling, and then we can proceed with all other important guests thereafter.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.